The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Recapping the UCF game, as well as talking about some recruits, all that and more here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. I am your host, Jay. Thanks all for pulling up on the YouTube channel and listening to us wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Let's give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop is going to come through doing what we do best. We're going to dive into the UCF game. We're going to also talk about our thoughts on offense as well as on defense. We're also going to talk about some recruits we heard somewhere in town, and maybe there was a silent commitment. We don't know, but we'll dive into that as well. So, Coop, had to bring you in early, man. What's going on?
What's up, dude? Hey, good to have you back. And yeah, I mean, it's this show's a lot easier even when you struggle. It's a lot easier to come in after a W gets charted up on the old left and rights. So again, you're 7-0, and lots of coaching opportunities to be had this week. Put you back to ground after some time off, and a lot of accolades been spinning your way. So it's good. A lot of other people weren't as lucky.
No, you're right. And this was a weird week in college football. We'll also talk about some other college football games as well. I want to dive into kind of things that happened around the country as well. And so I wanted to keep it simple. Was going to bring in the collective, and I was like, nah, you know what? First time back, coming back from vacay. Wanted to just chop it up with Coop. We're going to just make it simple. We're going to dive into, of course, the UCF game. We're going to talk offense. We're going to talk defense. We're going to talk about some recruits that are potentially in town. And I also want to go around the country. And the reason why I said that, not to get too long to it, but there was some weird stuff that happened in college football this weekend, man. I mean, a lot of your top 10 teams struggled in some capacity. We also saw a loss that a lot of Sooner fans are actually very excited about. So, mainly with this, we got out our win. We survived magically by the grace of the football gods. We are here today to fight and be excited for another day, mainly because Coop, man, godly, that was a game. So we beat UCF 31-29, as everybody knows in the chat. What's good, chat? I'm gonna start bringing y'all's comments in just a minute, but we're gonna dive right into the meat and potatoes of this bad boy. But we won the game 31-29. We looked kind of flat. And it looked like we were flattening out even more as the game went on. It's like we went up, we come back to the middle, we go down, we go back to the middle, up to. It was very rocky based upon the way the team just felt like they were performing. Like defensively to start the game, we was kicking tail. And it felt like more rat poisoning was starting to, we feeling ourselves. We out here, we're dominating, we'll be all right. And then we start giving up big plays. And so, like, if you listen to my recap, one of the things I pointed out that we gave up 397 yards, but if you take out the 2 chunk plays, the 82-yard tutty and the 54-yard rush, that's like 136 yards you take off. They're under 200, about 200 and what? Let's see, calculating it out, about 250 yards in the game, which is actually really good when you're talking about Gus Malzahn and an offense that he's orchestrated that's given Nick Saban fits. So, Coop, let's start on the defensive side of the box. I think that's probably the most important since the score was what it was. What jumped out to you that we should key in and talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on what you just said. Harvey, if you take away, and again, guys, I fully understand this is a situation where you cannot let, 1 or 2 plays come off the stat sheet. You still got to stop those plays. But if you take away the 86-yard pass, Plumlee has 162 yards passing. If you take away that one run, it is 22 carries for 47 yards for Harvey. And so that's at 2.3 a carry. So up before that one, it just wasn't great. So, but those also go in there.
They
and
count.
they count. So you heard it early. I mean, the first drive, first 2 or 3 drives, I think we had 5 or 6 tackles for loss. I think we had 13 different tackles
13.
for loss by 13 different players were part of that game. So you saw big games from DeJoun Terry. Good game from Isaiah Coe. My shout out to Coe. We're trying to get him to come on and join us. I mean, listen, you look at the Washington game, they're obviously a very, very, very potent offense. And Penix throws 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They win, was it 14-7 against Arizona
15,
State?
15-7, something like that. Mainly
Yeah,
because it was, it was no offensive touchdowns from Penix. Basically,
yeah,
is what's baffling.
yeah. And then they also had a touchdown on defense. So that offense accounts for 1 touchdown. So this team is you heard Brent in the post game. This is a game that they lose most likely. So let's get on some of the good pieces. Let's go with Stutzman. Stutzman had a good game. He had another 13 or so tackles, 12 tackles, something like that. He had a great game. The defensive line feel like they had a really good game too. On defense, we came out on fire, and eventually they started tossing the ball up in the air. And Woody Washington had probably one of his worst games, so expect him to get back in stride here this week. You've got Kansas and Oklahoma State coming up. Those guys are 2 big running teams. Ollie Gordon is going cray. So you gotta work on that, because you look at let's see here. UCF was in the top 3 in offensive yards per game, in the mid 500s, and you've dropped them now to, I think, 6 in the country, and we're right behind them. So Kanik, the turn of the game, I think, is on that 4th down stop, or that 3rd down stop, on the 4th. He gets over the guy, and again, I understand about the blowing the kiss later in the game, but yeah, it is 100%. You cannot do that thing. We saw Downs get away from it last 2 weeks ago, and then you saw Kanik do it. Downs has earned his right. He's been here. The guys, this has always been a piece of it, to where there's a balance in celebrating your accomplishments, but keeping your head about you, and you can't stand over somebody. And Kanik tried to walk away, and then stood up and then kind of went back down and got into the guy's face. And I think that's why he gets the penalty. So it is 100%. You got that.
Let's stay at that real quick. And I think that
Yeah.
that you brought that up, and that was one spot I want to definitely stop at and really dig into. I get everybody was concerned about this game. I 100% understand. There were some glaring things about this game that makes you say, are we as good as we think we are? Should we think that we can go far with this team? Can these mistakes be fixed? But dude, just as you said, we got another goal line stance. We've given up 2 touchdowns in the red zone now this season. Both of them was to UCF. But that run, that JRP touchdown that he got, was only because of that penalty. At that point, it was kind of like the gas was taking out the balloon, the air was taking out the balloon at that point. The whole room just was like, oh. And it was just like, get them in there and get it over with. There was no way of stopping it, because I didn't think we'd be able to do it 6 straight times. That's something that's really hard to do. But the fact that we actually did it again on a team that runs the ball a lot, hey man, that tells me that as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, there's no injuries whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's what it shows.
You showed an absolute, and again, it's hard for you to do 3 straight stops, at the goal line. So when you've done 3, and then you get another one, and then you give them a fresh set of downs, guys, that's hard. I mean, it is absolutely hard. And I got to say this, on the big pass with the kiss blown to the sideline, that was a phenomenal play call. You had Woody absolutely on his own. So when they threw that, when John Royce Plumlee, that sprint draw hurt us throughout the day. We had trouble with that. Our defensive line did a terrific job. But that one, when they sprinted back out, Woody came up for the quarterback. I think if Woody doesn't come up for that, Plumlee probably, and he runs with the receiver, Plumlee probably still pops off a 20-yard run, but it's not an 86-yard touchdown. I mean,
Now, I disagree
there was nobody there.
No, there was two players there. Like, if you see the play, and I think this was the problem I had with Woody on that play, is that when Woody decided to commit to the quarterback coming up, because you're right. When JRP, this is our first time actually seeing an RPO run this season, like with a guy that's known for being an RPO. Because if I'm correct, John Rice Plumlee wasn't a quarterback initially, but he played quarterback at Ole Miss with Levy, and then he transferred to UCF as Levy moves on from there to come to Oklahoma, and so we saw an RPO where a quarterback that is mobile. But at the same time, he couldn't get anywhere. Like, we held him, 9 carries, -4 yards. As long as run was 11 yards, but we were in his throat. And so when you see the play, Woody didn't trust. It was either a linebacker or a safety next to him. I can't think of who it was, but an edge was also chasing JRP. So that what it basically meant is that if he tried to run up, he would have to have gone towards the sideline. And then Woody could have uncommitted from the wide receiver and ran downhill to force him out of bounds. So I don't think he would have got 20 yards. He probably would have got about like 2 or 3, maybe even 5. But there was someone committed to slow him down, because that knee, you could tell he didn't look right with that brace on. He looked like he was like not as much of a threat. But Gus Malzahn's offenses, when he's running that RPO, dog, he's creative as hell. And we saw the creativity. They were running a lot of trick plays. And those trick plays, in effect, somewhat worked. A lot of our misses was us overcommitting to the RPO. And I think is this is what came to my mind, and this is the reason why I want to stop you here, was on those RPO defenses, I felt like we overcommitted to the RPO in fear of getting burnt by it, when it did nothing but open up other spots on the field for them. Am I off base on that? Because that's what it felt like when I was rewatching the game.
Listen, it's a game we don't win in the previous 3 years. It's a game that our defense does not have the strong enough to do it. But again, we're having this conversation after a win. The defense was put in a couple of tough spots. They held their own. Bloody, you're right. That red zone defense, we have that bend but don't break. And I feel like outside of 2 plays, we actually, did a really, really good job. But those are still part of the game. The score still counts. And I just say it's now gone, because you can't. Washington doesn't have a conversation over us. You heard our friends down south chirping quite a bit, halfway through our game, and then they got themselves a straight battle given to them by Houston in the evening. So this is a win. The defense has stuff, again, that you can go out there and you can do some coaching. There was some refereeing that was a little shady, and it's good. And Sooner Cowboys, I'll disagree with you right here. I don't think we were lucky, because in the game, I felt like the whole time I said, we're gonna win this game. We're still gonna win this game somehow. We're gonna come back. And when we go talk about the offense, I'll dive into that. But I mean, the defense was continually, had issues and bumps, and they never folded. They never bounced. It's UCF was they played their best game of the season last week. They did a really good job getting Plumlee back. They said it on the broadcast, he was the emotional leader. He is the leadership guy, and now they could go out and lay eggs the rest of the season, but that was the best game that they've played this season.
Yeah, and you're right, and Buddy Rye, you're right. UCF's not a bad team. Now they're 3-4, but they still did win 3 games. They do pick up a lot of local talent out of Florida. I mean, besides in conference, they fought everybody close in conference. That's the other thing too. I mean, the K-State game's 44-31. I think it's a little bit closer, and K-State pulled away. Baylor, of course, they had that game won, and they just fell apart. They were up similar to what was it, TCU over Baylor? Was it TCU
Yeah.
Baylor in that bowl game? And it literally went from 31-0 to 38-31, or they were like multiple overtimes. They had that game won. The Kansas game, of course, that was them in Kansas, and Kansas just beat the dog out of them. That was all somehow. Actually, that was the game that Kansas ran for like 400 yards. And so you're going to lose a game. I mean, Bean threw the ball 12 times, 91 yards, and that's it. But they ran for 399 yards. They had 200-yard rushers in Neal and Heshaw in that game. And they just ran down their throat. McDuffie had 2 touchdowns on 91 yards. So that, to me, if anything, we'll talk about the run game when we get there in a minute, but more so than anything in this game, the thing that just Woody played bad. And it feels like now people are targeting him more. He got hit with the pass interference, and they're starting to test and see, okay, is Woody as good as he's been advertised as? Because if you go look at it, he had low targets going into this game. I think he maybe had like 15 targets over the season. Nobody was really throwing his direction. And now we're seeing more this game, they started to target him, getting those penalties. And then, of course, that long touchdown because he was flat-footed, as Hank mentioned. He was flat-footed before he made his choice. We were overcompensating for the RPO. That's what it felt like to me. But outside of that, man, we look at the linebackers. Hey, dog, Kip Lewis, I'm just going to keep eating this crow. I'm just going to tear into it. Let me get where my fork at. Let me go ahead and just stuff some more in my mouth. I'm going to eat a whole bunch of crow in this one because Kip out there, now, every time we had a goal, the goal line stands, he was in there. And I think he got to his tackles in the goal line stand. Why is Kip so good? That man's going to be a monster long term.
He just has the instincts, and he reads the ball very, very well. I mean, he has an absolute All-American brain, and as he continues to get bigger, it's going to help. It is going to be good because he finds a way to slither. He finds a way to get thin when he coming through the line, and he knows angles. And you're starting to see a lot of that with Deshaun McCullough. He's got some of that into him. Stutzman is just on one of the sticks on the goal line. Stutzman absolutely. I mean, it's different when you stand up and you take somebody standing up, because when you take someone standing up on the goal line, you're falling back, and so they're going to gain that deal. Stutzman came up leaning with his head down, and he put the guy. I mean, these things are stopping, and this is the third time that I've seen Stutzman this year. Specifically him, just come up with a full head of momentum coming at him, and the running back stops. And I think I called it might have been in the Tulsa game, maybe in the Rice game. There was another one to where running back had a full head of steam. Stutzman took a step to the left, came up, and the running back stopped in his tracks. So again, you take away the big yard, that big run. And it was right before halftime. I think Malzahn actually said we feel comfortable running the ball, and they were absolutely averaging 2 yards a carry. This is a team who runs the ball, and they know how to run the ball. And I got to say that Harvey kid, he is a baller. I mean, he's a thumper. And so that's a guy that don't be surprised if you start seeing some programs sneak a comment, one or two down his way to see if that he wants to maybe make a switch, because that's probably going to happen. There's these in this day and age, you're going to get some poaching, and one of our favorite friends probably won't be doing that, but because he's probably heading to the NFL, but somebody's going to be talking to him.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Somebody's going to go pick up the phone and ask Harvey if he still wants to play down at UCF. But at the same time, now that he's in a Power 5 conference, it's going to be tough for anybody to really get to snatch him up. He's getting the eyeballs he needs right now. He is already seen as someone that could potentially make league in some capacity. I don't think he can up his stock by going anywhere. Let's put it that way. See what I mean? Like, I don't think that his stock gets better just because he leaves and goes to a different school. He's putting up the numbers already. Let me go look at his numbers real quick, because I'm actually now curious, because I was looking at him about 5 minutes ago. He had
now if anybody in the chat, if anybody is down near the Florida area, and wants to go drop a bag off at Colton Boomer, we will start taking. We will take a collection because I don't care. Yes, if we could go have a conversation with him, we can upgrade his stock because we can tell you, hey, how would you like 50, 60, extra points per game? And I mean, hell, if you can kick a 40-yard field goal with any consistency, you'll be the second highest NIL guy on our team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing that's so ironic that the guy that's kicking field goals on us freaking name is Boomer. Like, really? And he's making them. Like, something that we aren't doing. Our special teams are struggling. So, transition from there into offense. Let's talk about the offense itself. Overall, like I said, defense. I think the defense did what they were supposed to do, except for the silliness, the 3 silly plays, the Kanik penalty, the big run that we gave up in which Stutzman was in the wrong place. He was overcompensating for the RPO. And then you had Woody Washington running up, overcompensating for the RPO. I don't think we had a problem with Bino. We've seen him before. And everyone keeps claiming Jalen Daniels is going to play. I'm not sold on Jalen Daniels playing. And I think we'll be fine stopping their run game. So, offense side of the ball. Love to do that. Before we do that, make sure y'all wipe your feet. We got about 100-something folks in here. We ain't even hit 100 likes yet. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, join the family. You know what we do. All right, offense. Coop, keep it in a buck, man. I thought we were going to do more on the pass game. By the way, Harvey has run for 612 yards this season so far in their 7 games. 5.5 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. He's going to probably finish this year over 1,000 because he had 700 last year. As long as you stay healthy, dude's going to hit a K. That's what's wild to me. But I know that we've been talking about this run game. I know that is a topic of discussion. I've got a couple of your questions, your statements in here, your comments in here starred because I know everybody's going to say anything about it. Problem right here, like Prime's mentioning, problem with the run game, O-line isn't good enough to make big lanes. We don't have running back on the route who has a one-cut burst, get the field, hit that lane, it's barely open. So, Prime Time, I disagree with you on half of that. The offensive line is making holes. You go back and watch it from the different angles, we're making them. We don't have the burst to hit the hole, and we don't have the patience. Because you recognize second half when Salchuk got that cut and got to the that touchdown, that 30-yarder, which when he actually was kind of asking if he should run it in for the touchdown. Should I run it in? Should I hold the ball? What should we do? Okay, I'm going to go in. When you have enough time to do that, you making holes. I think Salchuk is finally over that hammy. I think that he's kind of like, all right, I think I'm good. Because he looked hesitant to start the game. That's why he got yanked. Major, when he hits holes, he's getting it. But the problem is, man, as big as he is, how does he fall so easily? It's like he always gets tripped by himself, by his teammate, the blade of grass. Something keeps snatching at his ankle. Right. The wind, there's a leaf fly by and it flips him over. It never fails, the man falls. But at the same time, this is the funny part. We still ran for like 80-some yards in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not 200 like we did against Texas, which, Dylan Gainwell had to run for 100 yards for, but we had 189 yards rushing. Marcus Major had 82. Salchuk had 63, but of course, half of it was run on that 30-yard touchdown, but Major was averaging 4.6 yards a carry. It's not really bad. It's just we're so spoiled and we're used to having a back that can get you 6 and 7 on a consistent basis. Maybe not every game, but on a consistent basis that we were expecting this again. I mean, Major at 4.6, Harvey had 4.4, and most of his was off the 54-yard touchdown. Half of his yards was a 54-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. So, Coop, now I'm looking at this. I feel like we're starting to make strides in the run game. Am I crazy?
No, and those 2 plays on the first drive, Salchuk absolutely tossed the offense in a bad spot. Right, you got the direct snap. He hasn't played a lot. Direct snap, he fumbles it, and then he drops the pass. And then at that point, they're like, all right, you need to come over here and you need to calm yourself down. But the offense as a whole, it looked like we came out with a completely different game plan than what we had ran the previous 6 weeks. It looked like we were doing just so many different things. And that's hard to do when you don't have a gelled offensive line in front of you. So I'll say this. Is the running game still the offensive line, or is it the running back? Well, when the running backs are switching out so often, and now we are on our eighth or ninth different offensive linemen, having significant time, you can't gel as an offensive line with different guys switching in and out. I know some of it's been injuries, some of it's been, mentality, but this is going to be a deal to where I don't know if it needs. Somebody said it during the game, and maybe it was on Twitter, that maybe DeMarco needs to do a little something different with how the running backs are looking. What are they seeing? Their vision, because early in my football life, I would watch games and be like, why didn't he bounce it outside? It's wide open. Well, plays are designed to go to a certain spot, and if you ad-lib a lot and you fail, you're getting yanked because you're not following the play. So you got to have a running back who has some comfort, and I think that inconsistency does really hurt. Now, you saw Sawchuk come back out. You saw him do some good things. I mean, Marcus Major still averaged 4.6 yards a carry, and there were a couple times that he was getting hit 2 or 3 yards in the backfield. We just don't have that guy who's going to be able to make a play on his own. Maybe Sawchuk can't be that guy. I do caution everybody that please everybody listen. Sawchuk has played, prior to the season, one game. He played a really good game against Florida State as a reserve guy. We saw Marcus Major do the same thing against Florida, and we all thought that he was going to get, be super, super strong. It is going to be it's going to be a great learning deal for Coach Murray in his progression as a head coach, is because when you are playing with Kennedy Brooks, or if you're playing with a Joe Mixon, a Samaje Perine, those guys make the coach look a lot better. They do it. Kennedy Brooks had that Le'Veon Bell, vision, and he would wait for the blocks. But that's even hard to develop if your offensive line is always different up in front of you, because you don't know what is a Matauer going to do, what is a Schaefer going to do, what is a Savion Byrd going to do, what is a Caden Green going to do. That's tough. And so we continue to fall, trip over ourselves. Who was we had a wide receiver a long, long time ago that he returned kickoffs, and I swear to God, he tripped over the white paint so often, and I can't remember, just on kickoffs, and it was just infuriating. And I'll think of it here in a second, or if you guys remember, but it is just an absolute, it's just a tough thing to lose your feet. So I don't know what it is. You continue, we got to watch this, keep going week in and week out. But that game plan is just different, and we didn't look like we actually started running our own offense until right at the end of the first half, and then we came out, had some stupidity there too. But it looks like once we got into running our offense and not running special stuff for this game, we had things together. So, is this team on offense? Did it show some gumption to make the plays when it counts? Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. They came together because Brent said it again. This is a game that we lose last year. We didn't have the depth. We didn't have it. And you heard it on the broadcast. How are they going to continue to hold up against the switching out of the defensive line, the switching out, or how's their defensive line going to handle that? It's when you're giving them an absolute just completely variation of plays. Guys aren't doing their job. They're not able to block. Nobody knows really where they're going. It's all different. It made them look good. Am I a little disappointed? Sure. But looking at the entirety of college football this weekend, again, we have this conversation with the W on the docket. And
in the column, right. So, we got a dub in the column.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went 1-0 last week. That's all I can say. Yesterday we went 1-0. We're going into this week 0 for 0. Ready to try to get another one win to keep it going. But no, you're right, Coop. And Lance, you're not wrong here. That's the one thing that jumps out to me too, is that we're this far in, we ain't got it settled at RB1. I put it like this. I think it's supposed to be Barnes and Sawchuk, and we're just waiting on them to get healthy. Like, Sawchuk had the hammy deal, and you could tell in some moments he didn't look like he was in shape yet. And it takes time. It's a soft tissue injury, and so you want to make sure that he doesn't aggravate it, because he is one of your long-term running backs. Like, if he keeps it up, he could potentially get himself drafted after next season. He's one of those backs that you want to make sure, or even in 2 years, you want to make sure that he is going to be here long term. You don't want to, aggravate anything. And in Barnes, BV mentioned that the toe's not healing the way they thought it would, and he's probably having inflammation after the games, in which that's not a good thing because it can lead to something bigger. So no, you're right, Lance. I'm not disagreeing with you there, and everybody said this as well. In the chat, I think the dude is Tyree. Tyree has been killing it, and he may have an attitude now, and they had to settle and put him back down. Now at this point, you put Tyree Walker in there as your starting running back. I do think he needs to be starting. I do think he needs to be on scholarship. Just give that man the ball, let him go. I'm hoping one day we see a Megwa, because I'm hoping that he gets healthy and he shows us something big, strong, and fast. You never know, but if Tyree's our guy, we need to play him. So running back wise, it'll figure it out. They're making holes. Whenever the running backs are being patient and busting through them, we're seeing it. Sawchuk did in this last game. We don't have a Kennedy Brooks who ran like DeMarco with the patience that you want. Hopefully, we develop that here over time. I think Barnes would have been that if he was healthy with that toe situation, and Sawchuk as well if he didn't have the hamstring situation. But unfortunately, we're figuring out. But the good thing is, I'm going to say this. Don't shoot me. But I want y'all to know this. Our top running back in 2000 only had 700 yards in the season. Food for thought. We didn't run very well. Q was not a good running back his first year. It took it to like his third year. Then he started running for like 1,600 yards. I want y'all to know that. We did not run very well in 2000. It was all defense. And right now our defense is doing the exact same thing. Coincidence? I think not. At all. But yeah, Kim, you're right. I am very much concerned with this kick game. I don't know what's going on with the kicking. I don't give special teams. And you know what? I'm not even going to talk about them because we all know it's bad. It's been bad all year. Why should we even stress ourselves talking about it? But Coop, let's talk about DG and his Heisman bid right now. It was mentioned in here. Michael Penix did not have the best game. He looked really pedestrian with those 2 interceptions, no touchdowns against Arizona State, which Kenny Dillingham looks like he's putting together a defense out there. Shout out to that man. Yeah. But DG's looking like he's trying to win this. 253, 3 tutties. I mean, it's 25 for 38. I would have liked more. And that interception, I watched it 4 different angles.
Yeah.
That was on Stoops. And the unfortunate thing is that no matter when he threw it, the minute DG turned his head to throw it, that safety, number 21, was coming right at Stoops. And so, to be honest, if I put anything on DG on that pass, he should not have thrown. He should have probably tucked and ran, or thrown it deep and just thrown it away, because that was a situation where somebody's going to get level. But I will give this to DG, though. And this is the thing I do appreciate about him. He's throwing the ball away more. He's recognizing that the play's probably dead. He's going to throw it deep, throw it away, and either try to get a pass interference or get it out of there so that he's not taking stupid sacks. That's something I appreciate about what he's doing now, which is why you're seeing a few more incompletions, because instead of holding the ball or trying to tuck and run, it's like, get rid of it. That way you don't have to worry about it. But someone mentioned in the chat real quick, and Coop, pass this to you about how you feel about this, about DG this week. Somebody mentioned this about, it was Seth. That's who it was. His offense feels like it's more predicated on the running the ball. It is. We can't throw a quick slant. Well, we can, but I put it to you this way. Everyone knows that our run game is not very good. So what do? They drop their linebackers back. Mm-hmm. Quick slant ain't gonna work with a linebacker because you're gonna end up with what happened to Drake Stoops. Somebody gonna get lit right across the middle. And our wide receivers ain't gonna be. They're gonna make their business decisions. You better. I mean, you get yourself leveled up, and that's why Stoops jumped in the air, because he can. That's an easier way to brace for that hit that's coming. Yeah. But instead of him getting his hands up to catch the ball, he was trying to catch it with his body, and it bounced right off that top shoulder. He should have came in like this, tucked, boom. He'd been fine, but he didn't bring his arm up. He was trying to catch like this. Anyway, that's why you don't see a lot of slants like that. They're dropping their linebackers that they expect to run, because We suck at running. So because of that, we're getting the ball. We're doing a better job of getting the ball in space for Nick and for Rook to work. The run game, and you saw that in the second half. That Nick Anderson touchdown down the sideline, it took him 3 plays to get to that. He tried it once, threw it out of bounds, basically. We ran the ball, got their attention, and then the third time, we faked that handoff. The corner thought to move up. Nick went right past him. He's able to launch it.
Yeah.
Our entire offense requires a good run game. And so I think that's why I'm so high on DG this year, that he's figuring out how to run this offense without a run game. Coop, talk to me.
First of all, Nick Anderson is just unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure that I tweeted at Milk Hyper after the second or third game, and I said, you might get to know this name because it's going to come up a lot. So you're going to need to know. I need a Fox game with Gus on the call to drop to Mr. Anderson, because he can say, I said it for his brother, and I'm saying it here. Nick Anderson is going to be a baller. I want to touch on. He is a baller. He is not going to be. He is a baller because he looks like our friend Mr. Lamb early in the season. Now I think CeeDee Lamb was a little bit more physical. Nick Anderson has a little bit more size on him, but
and Nick's young, so yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, but let's talk about Andrel Anthony. Because I think that you did see a little bit. This was the first game without your leading receiver. So you had some adjustments there. You were bringing Sawchuk in, so you saw a different game plan. And what was Levy doing in the first quarter? We have no clue, because like I said, it looked like they did. He had a completely different play sheet that he had never ran before. Yeah. But as far as DG goes, what I'm impressed on DG is, you take away that Stoops pass. That Stoops pass was a little tough, but there were a lot of throws where DG put the ball low, only where the receiver could catch it, and he put a lot of passes for every single one of his oops, moments to where he overthrows or kind of hangs someone out. He does have ones to where he throws the receiver into safety, and I saw it a couple of times. The one that he did. The one where Jaden Gibson caught the ball, it was, a little bit further back behind him. Gibson made a great catch on that one. I think he did one to Stoops right after that, and he didn't come down with it. But it was a little back and down and low. But Dillon Gabriel doesn't need to throw for 400 yards. He doesn't need to throw for 5 touchdowns. Right now, in this atmosphere of college football, Dillon Gabriel just has to continue to go out there and be Dillon Gabriel. He had 20 yards rushing this game, but it felt like every single one of his runs were really, really impressive. He continues to run the ball with authority. He continues to run the ball with confidence. He is making a quick decision when he's doing these things. So, I'm happy with Dillon Gabriel. Again, Penix goes for 200-ish yards, about the same as Dillon. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And did he have a fumble? Also, there was a fumble. I can't remember if it was on him, but still, right there, that was the pretty much clear-cut Heisman favorite right then and there. So now you're going to see a situation to where Dillon continues to go. Do what he does. If we stay undefeated and he has the same type of games that he has this week, he's going to be in New York. And that's really all I care about, is Dillon Gabriel in New York. Now, what I want Dillon Gabriel to do mentally is not play with any type of, just go out and do what you were doing against Cincinnati. Go out and do what you did against Texas. Go out and do it here. Give us the hard-nosed leadership, because the story's great, and that's what they're going to want to see. They're going to want to talk about his NIL back in Hawaii. They're going to want to talk about the Polynesian and the Hawaiian aspect of it, because the stories are always great. The stories are what are going to get some people amped up
to tune in. People tune in, right?
And everybody else who is vying for the Heisman, your Daniels down at LSU, your Drake May, your Jordan Travis, Penix, Bo Nix. They're all going to have losses, and they're going to have these things that are going to hold them back. If Gabriel turns around and wins the Heisman, a lot of people are going to be like, because he picked the year. Trust me, this is a year to where I think that you can pick the year, and there is a lot of parity this year. You can, Oklahoma has the chance for playoffs and national championship because of the fact that there's just not dominant teams out there like we've seen. Now, Georgia is still the king of the hill. They are still the team that you got to go beat. But and I got to say, homeboy up there in Michigan, JJ McCarthy, I think right now he's probably the one who has the biggest set, to really push against Dylan. So as this continues to happen, Dylan just needs to keep his head about him. We need to downplay the portions because I think that when Hurts and Kyler and Baker were out there, you wanted to push that envelope, push that Heisman envelope. With Dylan, I think that we just let Dylan continue to be who he is and keep pushing it. And I promise you, Danny Stutzman and Trace Ford and all these guys are going to line up towards the end of the season, and they will be the ones to look across the line and say, we're coming to get our boy's trophy back if he doesn't win it. If he does win it, it's a freaking great story.
Right. No, there's a great story behind it and everything, and that's kind of the point of what the Heisman is. It's more of a storytelling thing. But yeah, you're right. JJ McCarthy's out here putting up some numbers. I mean, his numbers are very similar to what DG is putting up. And I think the other big thing though for JJ is he's gonna have to have a Heisman moment that gets everybody's attention. He's only rushed for 168 yards this season, and that ain't gonna cut it, especially if you're gonna throw up 1,718 touchdowns, where DG in comparison is 2,100 yards, 19 touchdowns, and he's also rushed for 230. And at 100 something yards he got against Texas was his Heisman moment. That was in the clutch. That was in a game that was critical. That was what everybody wanted to see out of him. He took the game, put it on the team on his back, and he went out there and finished him off. But in this game against UCF, though, the question was asked in the chat about Lebby and his play calling this. I 100% am with y'all and trying to figure out what's going on. Again, this entire offense is predicated on having a decent run game. We ain't got it yet, but guess what? Like I said, we didn't have it in 2000. We're figuring it out. We're figuring out one of these running backs that we need to get healthy is going to get healthy. And we're gonna something's got to give. But I'll say this: Bird and Schaefer looked a lot better in the second half, opening up blocks and making it happen. And let Dylan be Dylan. Mike, exactly. Just as you and Coop said, let Dylan be Dylan. Let him do his things. Some saying games. What's up? Appreciate the $5. Biggest challenge for our defense on the remaining schedule. Where are we the thinnest on both sides of the ball? That's a great question. All right. So our defense, the biggest challenge we've got the rest of the season. So let me go ahead and get our schedule up real quick. So I think that was a very interesting question because for the most part, we really have what? We've got 4 games left that are going to be of interest. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that there's really only one game that I'm actually nervous about. Right? Let me switch this down. Whoops. Add this back to the scene. All right. We got Kansas. We've got traveling to Oklahoma State. We've got West Virginia coming to town. We travel to BYU, and then we have TCU, right? So for me, Coop, and I'm going to let you answer. Whoops. Let me go back. My bad. That was me pushing buttons I wasn't supposed to. Coop, I'm going to go to you after I finish this. I think Kansas is the next one because I'm wondering, besides it being the actual next game, I think they're the one that's going to be the challenge, mainly because I'm curious to see if Daniels plays. If Jalen Daniels plays, I've got concerns. He's very good on the dual threat, but at the same time, he has back issues. So if we get enough pressure on him and get him to the ground, he might not play the whole game. So I think Kansas is going to proceed with caution with him because one wrong hit for one of our big boys, done deal. Besides that, I think that West Virginia game, Garrett Green, that dude makes me nervous. TCU ain't very good. BYU is more of a physical team, but they don't really have anything they're great at. And we all know about Okie Light. We're not even going to really divulge into that. Coop, game wise, what do you think is the biggest challenge? Because I say the challenge is not falling for the RPO against Kansas and West Virginia like we did against Central Florida. What you got?
Yeah, I don't think that any of those three teams can throw the ball, particularly well. I think that Oklahoma State does have me a little bit more on focus, but when Okie Light really poses a threat to us, it's passing. I don't know if Ollie Gordon's getting off and running like he does. I just don't. I don't see it. And if you continue to win a bunch of 1 point games, I don't care. As long as there's a 0 in the loss column, that's great. Kansas, it's going to be the situation of Devin Neal and stopping that RPO, because it's going to continue to be stopping the run. That's going to be the big piece for it. And if Daniels wants to play at all this season, I'd be surprised. I still think that he's probably got somebody in his ear and saying, "Hey, listen, this is the way to go." But this team, it's a 1-0 mentality. I'm going to do the coaches speak on this one. Every single game is important because now you have goals, and you have these goals that are absolutely going to be tossed. Now, I advise all of us to reassess what the goals look like, right? We were said 10 wins at the beginning of the season was what you were wanting. We have everything in front of us for an undefeated season. Is this team as good as the Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield? Not on one side of the ball. Are we exponentially better on defense? Yes. Are we as good on offense? No. Do we have a team that can go fight what is out there in the college football landscape? I think so, yes. I called it at the beginning of the season that I said I thought Oklahoma, if it returns to anything that we've seen, the schedule allows you to walk right through. You got to continue to do this, because I think that the Kansas game is going to be a tough. We'll probably see with Oklahoma State playing better. Hopefully, we get a good game there. BYU and TCU, I'm not particularly scared, but you have to take every single game as if this is still last year's team playing. They're going to come with us. They've seen that if you throw a jump ball, our defensive backs, with Woody Washington and maybe our safeties, are still having issues with those moments. So you got to go through and you got to turn it around. I think our biggest challenge on defense is going to be from a personnel standpoint. How do you continue to rest and draw back a little bit more for some of these guys and let some of the other guys in on there? Because can you have Danny Stutzman continue to play 95% of the snaps? I don't know if that's a great recipe for success. Your offense has to help you out, and we have to have a little bit more rest for the defense. That's gonna be it, because if we get up on offense, take care of our business, stop with the shenanigans, and get out to a lead, we can run more guys in there. We can have more backups. We can have more young cats in there. But if we play close games like we did this week, the rest of the season, it's not a good recipe for success later in the season. Does that mean we lose a game? No, but does it have us worn out for the Big 12 championship game or a playoff run? Yes, it does. So take care of your offense. That's probably the number one thing that I would say is, let's do our job on offense so that we can get more people rotating in and give some of these guys more breaks.
Yeah, Brian, you make a good point here. That's the one thing I told myself I wasn't going to do, is talk about how I know how bad the refs are treating us. You're 100% right, though. 100% right.
Yeah.
No, somebody else mentioned it in the comments. I thought I'd saved it, but it did look like I didn't. Tight end. Tight end is critical for helping us, get really going, right? So, yeah. So the second question, Simpson Games, my apologies, is thinnest. We're definitely thin at tight end. Stock can only do so much. We need tight ends that are more of a threat, not only in the pass game, but also in blocking. Mainly in the pass game, because the tight end will get those linebackers out. We ain't got that this year yet. McIntyre's still young. Helms is out for the year, injured. Llewellyn's been hurt. Fanuel and Blake Smith are not really getting much run. We need that tight end room to get stronger. We need somebody to step up and take over. I think once we get that going, I do sense that long term will be good. That's what's going to help us get the championship. So thank you for the question. Yeah, we made it long on here. My apologies, everybody. Let's dive into some recruits, man. So I have heard that it was a silent. You saw the dance by our boy Kevin Sperry. That usually means that someone that went ahead and committed. I ain't got a clue who it is. I'm gonna be honest. I've been asking around trying to see if I can find something out. Ain't a word been said, but I will say this though: we had a visitor this weekend. Reggie Powers, the safety out of Ohio, pulled up, and we just got a Wilt phone for him, as well as Allen from 247 put in a crystal ball. So we got 2 crystal balls with Reggie Powers' name on it coming to Oklahoma. Coop, what you think about us getting this athlete?
He is going to be a psycho at the nickel spot. He's got that versatility that he's really, really good at playing the run. He's very, very physical. This is a guy who, and you've heard me say this, guys, at this point in our season and where we are with players, last year when we saw the exodus of transfers out, it was a bunch of guys that didn't have a spot on this team. They were not Oklahoma good. They were being processed, whatever version you want to use. You have to be a stud to come in and play in this defensive backfield now. You cannot be a guy. You cannot be a project. You cannot be that. You got to come in here and put in work because, trust me, there are guys coming down the road in the 24 and 25 class who are going to come in with the expectation that they can earn playing time and take, because you've seen it on this defense. You make mistakes, you're getting replaced. Because we've got guys. And now what's the next variation of this is you're going to have a lot of guys who are going to be leaving the transfer portal that we're going to be going, oh my God, like how, why? But these are going to be guys that are really, really good, and they're going to be able to transfer to other Power 5 conferences or Power 5 teams and play and be good. This isn't a situation where somebody goes to Texas State. You're going to see guys moving out and going to South Carolina, guys going to Alabama, guys going to Tennessee, something like that, because they're always looking for playmakers. Reggie Powers is a great player. I'm excited to see him come this way. If you know the Michigan State, outside of their after hours, events that they hold, it is tough nosed defense. Guys who want to come up and thump and put some hurt on you. So if Powers is the silence, I'm all for it. He's been to Norman a few times. It was a pretty quick deal, and if you read the tea leaves, how this has usually played out has been a commitment to us, unless it's somebody that we want to hold off on it. So with all this being said, I think this is a player that we do want.
Yeah, no, we definitely want Reggie, mainly because not only is Reggie Powers one of those players that fits right into what you want to do. Like you said, he's a physical dude. He's a hitter. He comes up, he gets hits. And because of that, we're like, oh yeah, he's definitely somebody that we're going to want on this team and what we're doing. Nickel guy. He could be the cheetah. Now, he's not as big as you would want for a cheetah. Like, he's 6 foot. He's not 6'4", 6'5", like we're seeing with McCullough and Harrington, which crossing our fingers and toes that Harrington comes back next year. But he's a dude. Now, I like that this was pointed out as a 25 is what the rumor is that is the silence a 25 guy. So, of course, that's why I mentioned it, because it was a Kevin Sperry is his video or whatnot that our boy PG told him to use for commits, and now he's doing it. So shout out PG for that recommendation. I'm sensing that this is definitely going to be I'm thinking it may be Tristan Hayes. It's probably going to be Haynes, or it could be Washington. One of them Carl Albert boys. And we got a crystal ball for him for Haynes, like a day or two ago. And so honestly, that's probably who it is. But I mean, I'm happy with that. because I like watching him and Marcus James when I go to the Carl Albert games.
Yeah.
Dog, there's some monsters. Like
Yeah.
Oklahoma's producing some talent this year. Shout out to the state. We got some players. We're really shutting up Colin Cowherd on that one because we're producing some players that could be elite long term.
Yeah, and from what I understand is if we pull him, then that's the top 7 players in the state for 25.
Yep.
All committed to Oklahoma before that cycle really gets into the swing of things. So if you guys are looking back and checking numbers, I don't believe our first commit for 24 happened until way later, and now we've got a loaded class already, and it comes with what you see from the leadership standpoint of Kevin Sperry. And again, this guy is young; he still has development to do. Everybody is giving that team their best shot, and they're piecing guys together. I mean, they played Guthrie. Guthrie is a team of guys that have been together for a very long time, and the weapons are just insurmountable for that team, for that Carl Albert team. And so got to give shout out to this coaching staff for identifying the programs, identifying the players in Oklahoma and going after them. We still got a few guys too. So don't get too set as in we got this all down, because we're going to probably have 2 more at minimum from the state of Oklahoma coming this way.
Yeah. No, and looking at it, who's it? CJ Nixon is the Weatherford kid that is just a beast of an athlete that everybody wants. Wide receiver, plays defense, does just about everything. He's a top 70 player in the country. I think actually 247 has some number 38 in the country for them on their listing right now for 25. I mean, of course it's early, but he's going to probably end up being a 5-star. He's that much of a beast just as a wide receiver as well as a defensive back. At 6'5", 220, there's your cheetah. There's a cheetah for 2025 class, right? He's potentially to walk in. And just as you said, Coop, that puts us in the top 7 for in the state of Oklahoma. We've got leans on all of them. Tristan Haynes as well as Trinae Washington. I mean, that's 2 more Carl Albert boys to go along with Kevin Sperry and Nate Roberts, who decommitted from Notre Dame, and we see him hanging out with Kevin Sperry and working out. Dog, man, the Sperry class coming into 26 and 27 could be just absurdly talented with Elijah Thomas as well as Jade Nickens. Recruiting is up, guys. Be happy. Y'all smile. Be excited.
And one whisper was maybe Michael Fasusi could have been one of the 25 guys. And so you've got Ty Haywood, Lamont Rogers, and Fasusi. Those 3 guys right there are studs. They are absolute studs. And for all that, regionally 24, we talked about this. Regionally 24 is just a rough season from the offensive lineman standpoint. But now we're going to see these 3 cats be potentially part of the Oklahoma class for the class of 25, and they're ballers. They are absolute ballers.
Agreed. And the good thing too is even with the 25, well, with the line in 24, like it's starting to trick up. Like I've seen, like we had the commitment from Devon Jordan, which kind of shocked me. That came out of nowhere. I watched him play against Edmond Santa Fe, and he was rocking the OU gloves, but I did not expect him to commit. That's why my video was like out of nowhere. I had to make it all virtual and stuff because I was traveling. And yeah, that came out of nowhere. But then you add that. There's crystal balls going out for Grant Bricks, Eddie Pierre-Louis. So that's 2 offensive linemen to add to this class that, hey, this turned out to be a really good class if we finish out with those 2, because Bricks top 150 player in the country. He's top offensive. I think he's like number 1, 2, or 3 on my interior offensive lineman in the country. Dog, that's a huge pickup.
He's a stud. And then you move into Sooner Cowboys. You're right. You guys know who Peyton Bowen is. If you don't know the name Jonah Williams, get that name down, because
know who he is.
Jonah Williams is going to be he is the next Peyton Bowen. And what sucks for us is that there is a chance that Jonah Williams only gets 1 year with Peyton Bowen. And that could be, I mean, just think of two Peyton Bowens, but Jonah Williams is bigger. I believe he's like a 200-pounder guy right now as a junior. So he is a stud, and that's going to, he is a, guys, Jonah Williams is the name, and I don't think that we're going to have Oregon Notre Dame drama with that one. But the downside of having all these, or the I guess the warning on all this is, if you have all these cats here early, you got to keep recruiting them. You got to keep winning. You got to keep doing that, because you can't start moving on and just forgetting about these guys, because that's what some other teams are starting to do. Is we've heard some conversations around Texas A&M coaches quitting their conversations with some of these offensive linemen, and they are saying it. Also, on top of it, somebody pointed out the other day, and maybe even Jimmy Green Bean, so I might give him some shout out on from Twitter, but Lincoln Riley's not tweeting at recruits anymore. He's not talking to folks. So there is some movement that's going to be happening in college football, and we got to continue just to keep on pushing.
Yeah, and it transitions perfectly into some of the games around the country. I mentioned before that we want to talk about that a little bit, because it's the perfect setup. Thank you, Coop, for that. And, before we move forward, thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Go ahead and wipe your feet while you're here. If you ain't wiped your feet yet, wipe your feet now. Here's your perfect opportunity to stop what you're doing. Hit that like button. Help us on that algorithm to get us out there where people can see what we're doing. All right. Games around the country. Who watched that Utah USC game? Because I was watching that. I was trying to go to bed because I had an early flight this morning. And I was like, nah, I got to watch the end of this. Bruh.
Yeah.
Is the wheels falling off at USC, guys? Y'all tell me. Is it done? Is Lincoln leaving at the end of this season? Because it sure did feel like it. Am I crazy?
Guys, he's gone. We have all said this from beginning, before the season started. I told you. Same thing I just mentioned earlier, and shout out to Neo, because Neo kind of said the same thing, is when you don't have the opportunity to put games away, you can't play your next in line quarterback. You don't get to see who he is. And Lincoln's not going to do this again, because right now the shine's already starting to tarnish a little bit. And if he comes out and stays at USC, goes into the Big Ten, and runs the struggle bus through those cold temperatures, those hard running offenses, and that tough-nosed defenses, and that shine continue, he may never be able to have that moment again. So it is absolutely. This guy's gone. And Caleb Williams has an ankle that's starting to kind of act up. And I do not want, and let's see here, is it Emmanuel Acho, ex-Texas player, made the comment on Twitter, and that Caleb Williams can really start thinking about the sit down for the rest of the season. And then our boy Dusty Dvorak came back and said, I hate this take. Guys, with you're hearing Caleb Williams talking about the NFL mid-season, as a USC fan, whatever hope you have, there's still a few of them that are like, we still win the Rose Bowl. But that's not good. And then with the stuff about NFL rumors that the agents are already starting to talk, and Lincoln maybe want to follow Caleb. If I'm Caleb Williams, I say, Coach, thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for helping me reach who I am. But I got to go my own way now, because I'm not going to pull this crap in. I'm not going to go to Washington, or not going to go to Denver, or not going to go to Chicago and have a super sweet offense just to have defense turn into a crapshoot. Guys, it's a tough deal. If I'm Caleb Williams, I am separating myself as gently as potentially possible. But yeah, that mysterious hamstring ankle injury, it might be time, because these next two games don't get easier for USC. They got two more losses coming, minimum.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their schedule now. It does not look promising long term. Yeah, Man, I hate that Emmanuel Acho take. I think I hate it. I hate it because
You're thinking it, but you shouldn't say it.
Yeah, we're preaching the, oh, be a teammate, sacrifice for your brothers and all of that, blah, blah, blah. But for a lot of the players on that team, they're still fighting for the opportunity to get drafted. They're still fighting for that. And these L's and W's help them in that conversation, the agents and combines and all of that. So, no, you don't want him to not be playing. You want him playing for the rest of the season, putting up those numbers, and hell, potentially trying to put himself in the Heisman conversation again. Now, granted, he's out. I told y'all at the beginning of the season that Caleb wasn't going to win it twice. As much as I like him, I sensed they were going to lose a bunch of games, and here we are. It's come to fruition. So I don't see that. Now, the pack is still basically wide open. USC's only lost one conference game. They still got to play Washington and Oregon, and the question's going to be, can they compete against those big boys? I mean, they've given up 154 yards so far, 154 points in the conference so far, which is like the fourth highest. And they've still got Arizona State, Stanford, Cal, Washington State in their conference, and Colorado, Colorado gives up everybody points. Everybody can have points on them. They defense is just boo-boo. But yeah, they got a lot of work on it. And so transitioning from that, another opponent there in the pack, Washington. I didn't get to watch that game. I went back and looked over some of it, some of the highlights and stuff. My God, that was a terrible game for Penix. 27 for 42, 275 and 2 picks. That's it. Like, and Arizona State's on their, third quarterback now?
Yeah.
Like, it's like they could not figure out how to get it going early. And all his interceptions came in the first half, and then he started fumbling. It's like, what are we doing here? But the saving grace for them, they were down 7-6. That pick six at the beginning of the fourth quarter is what basically saved Washington in this game, because it didn't look like they had a chance of even scoring. Besides, they got a field goal later, but that pick six basically just took the air out of the sails for Arizona State. All right, talk to me, Coop. Pac-12, is it up in the air now? Because I thought Washington was going to be the clear-cut winner of this.
I just typed in the chat. Washington has looked this good last year, too. Michael Penix had a phenomenal year last year. They always come up with one of these. And I got to say, what was it, the Dr. Pepper commercial? Caleb comes in this week with that new Dr. Pepper commercial. Did you see it, the Fansville one?
I saw the Fansville one,
yeah, he's like, see that. I don't have any of these. I'm not worried about these curses or anything like that. And I think that I think the shot at the DJ Uyunglele thing, because he went on the Fansville commercial and then he threw out the year he had last year. So Caleb, he films this commercial. He has his worst game of his career probably last week, and then he comes back this week and they lose again. I don't know. Caleb is a great player, and that offense has plenty of talent. They've got a phenomenal running back. But it's still Lincoln Riley. It is just absolutely that. So Pac-12 wise, I think someone's going to have to knock Utah off. They just find a way to push people and get them out of the way. Oregon is playing, Oregon's playing a good football. But I mean, their loss was just last week, right? So it's not like they're going to continue to eat up each other. Nobody takes the Pac-12 for serious, and now that you're starting to see them kind of chop down each other, people just I have a feeling that nationally everybody just wants that narrative to go away, because they don't want a Pac-12 representative, because it doesn't help, and they sure as hell don't want Washington in the playoff, because nobody west of Colorado is going to give a damn. So I think that you've still got Oregon, Washington, and Utah, and I give the edge to Utah. They've done it now 2 years in a row. That's who it is.
Yeah, I can see that. And Oregon, God bless them. Oregon's out here just fighting for their life. They just want some respect. Like, people, look at us. We barely lost against Washington. Like, please respect us, love us. But we're not. And so back to the
coaching.
weirdness.
It was coaching. It was coaching on that one too.
Yeah.
It's not even that Oregon played wrong. It was just poor coaching, and or it was just calls that if they work, you're a stud. If they don't, we're coming after you, because that call by oh my God, Dan Lanning. The call by Dan Lanning to go for the fourth down against Washington. It was the same thing against of us going for the fourth down against Texas. At midfield. You make a good throw, just like the game yesterday. Texas potentially has themselves in a really, really bad space, but a poor throwing quarterback throws a bad throw. And so those things, I mean, that's why they call them gambles, because if you win, you roll out and you go to the cash counter. Yeah, and if you lose, you're thinking what might have been.
Yep. No, 100%. And he took some chance. I mean, he did good against Washington State. I saw a little bit of that game, and that one ended up being a lot better than I expected. But then you go down the list of some of these other teams that struggled in games that we say you probably shouldn't have. We were one of them. Texas and Houston. Dog, Quinn Ewers might be gone for a few weeks. Bruh. Yeah. What is that going to look like? Malik Murphy's going to be the question. Now, the question was posed in here. Do we see Arch Manning? Absolutely not. I'm just going to tell you right now, do not get your hopes up, because the one thing that we know that ain't going to happen based upon the way things are done at Texas is them going to play the quarterback that you probably that's a freshman. I'm about 99% sure that Sark doesn't want those problems. This is still the best Texas team we've seen since 2009. So that's the best one in what, 15 years, 14 years? This is the best one in 14 years. So because of that, my anticipation is they're going to go in with the guy. He's healthy now. Malik Murphy's healthy. And they're going to try to see what they can do to keep winning games. But the one thing I feel bad for him is that how much are we truly going to get to see out of him? Because they play Malik Murphy and Ryan Sanborn. I don't think we see Arch at all this year. Now, granted, Sanborn is the punter, but granted, you're probably going to get some chance for Arch. They're going to want to see him the minute Malik get out there and do something, somewhat not good. They're going to be calling for his name. They're going to be calling for Arch, but they got to play Malik at this point, especially if Quinn does have a shoulder issue on his throwing arm and he's out. I mean, it's the second time in his career that we've seen him go down with a shoulder injury, right?
Yeah, and
be concerned.
Well, Malik's a freshman too, so don't forget about that. Malik's a freshman, and he is going to. There's a lot of people who say maybe Malik was not who we wanted to see. Now let's see what he does, because potential and actual are two different words, and they're two different things that you see quite often. Guys, is Arch Manning a 3-star? I don't know. Is he the 5-star number one? No, he wasn't. And I'm going to die on that hill. Even if he looks good, but if it's a broken clavicle, I don't think we may not see Quinn Ewers until the last week of the season. And that just is it, because the last thing that you need is a clavicle situation, because you saw it with Tony Romo. Once that thing happens, it's hard to avoid it. It is very, very hard to avoid it. So if it's a broken clavicle, we may not see him again this season. It may be to the end of the season, but Malik Murphy now has the game in his hand. Is Arch Manning going to play? If Malik just turns upside down, maybe. But yeah, Hank, you're right. Arch is Chris Sims with a bigger name. Chris Sims was there because of his last name, and he never did anything.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you got Quinn in a sling. That concerns you, especially with his throwing arm. Malik is a redshirt freshman, yes, but he's been there for an additional year, so he's got that extra time to really work. And he was hurt last year for the most part. But I don't see a situation where you want to put Manning in there. And
no,
Coop said it nicely that a lot of people do not agree with his rating. I thought the kid's talented personally. I'm one of the very few people that thinks that Arch Manning is really, really good and can do something. And I think that he has the advantage because he had the brains of Eli and Peyton to really, and Cooper is they consider him the better athlete. He just couldn't stay healthy. So I think he had some good brains to pick from, but I don't think he's ready to go out there on the big stage, especially with what Texas has left on their schedule. That Houston game was unreal. That spot was egregious.
Awful.
It was egregious. That was high-key disrespectful the way they spotted that ball. But at the same time, it's what it is. But Texas still got they got BYU this week. They got they got Kansas State late in the season. Wow, that's not good. So BYU comes to the house, so does Kansas State, and they travel to TCU in Ames, Iowa. That Ames game, dog. That Ames game. They need Quinn back for that game. Actually, they may not even want Quinn to play in that game because we dogged on Iowa State going into the season thinking they weren't going to be it. I mean, right now they're 3-1 in conference. They're 4-3 in the season. They haven't played their best ball, but they put a whooping on TCU. They put a whooping on Cincinnati, and they're going to put a whooping on Baylor. Hey, man, Rocco Beck out there making us shut up. He's making us shut up.
And Matt Campbell. No,
not Matt Campbell. John Heacock, the architect of that defense. Oh, he's going to make some fits for whoever's playing quarterback at Texas. He's going to have them in fits. So, if anything, Coop, I'm curious too. What does Texas do? BYU might be a tough game for them at home. BYU is playing some good ball.
Right now, you are completely throwing everything that you prepared all offseason and through 6-7 games. It's all gone. So now you have to lean on your defense and you have to lean on the running game. And here's the thing is when they go up to Iowa State and they play BYU, and if you are one-dimensional, and I'm definitely talking just more about Iowa State right now, but if with Heacock and Matt Campbell, they're going to have to rely on the running game. And then when Malik Murphy goes to try to take his shot, now he's going against a defense that has done the same damn job for 6-7 years now and made it tough on quarterbacks. So what is going to happen? Iowa State controls their destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And if their one conference loss is against us, it's going to be a rematch. I still feel good about that rematch, and I still feel good about that. But again, from the OU perspective, 1-0 each week, move on. 1-0 each week, move on. That's what you worry about. You don't worry about Heisman. You don't worry about conference championships. You win the game in front of you, and you move on. I promise you, if you do that, we're at the end of the season, and let's leave it up.
Oh, 100%. That's all you got to do. We need to go out there, focus on our game, and make it happen. Now, looking at so BYU game this week for Texas is going to be interesting. But anyway, back to kind of what I was talking about. It's been a weird week in college football. The Florida State game was real fun to watch against Duke. Jordan Travis went out there trying to put out his Heisman campaign. Ohio State, Penn State too. Penn State had that touchdown call back, and they just never recovered. That was bad. So, as everybody's saying in the chat, all we got to do is go 1-0 each week. Take our time. Do not look forward. We got Kansas. We've got a slobber knocker in front of us because if Daniels plays, based upon all the rumors that's constantly going around, which is making me mad that, of course, this is the game that he wants to play in. Why does he want to play this game? Why he want to be disrespectful? Why can't he just give us beans so we can go abuse Bean? No. Daniels wants to play in this game. So, I don't know.
Daniels is going to be rusty. And I promise you, he can still run around, But you hit him a few times. You let Reggie Pearson in there on him a few times. Ethan Downs in there on him a few times. Trace Ford is starting to really ball out. Trust me, if it comes time, we're going to see both of those quarterbacks. If one plays, if Daniels plays, and I think earlier, Jaden Daniels and Jalen Daniels. One's at LSU, one's at Kansas. So Jaden, Jalen. And so those are your two. So no, not the same exact name, but pretty close. But you, if Bean comes out, this is the third time we've seen him. If Daniels comes out, it is going to be an all-on, and you don't ever want to try to hurt someone. But I promise you play football, and he's going to get hurt.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with him is you don't want him to play in a game that could potentially get him re-aggravated, and then he's for real done for the year. Yeah. I've heard rumors about him, sitting potentially for the rest of the year, maybe even transferring at one point. I don't know. But I'll say this. I will gladly have him sit against us this week. I'd rather play for Bean. But as mentioned in here, this was great. Great statement that came up here. Was prepare for Kansas and for both QBs. That's all we got to do. We do that, we good. We'll make it happen. So, all right, Coop, final thoughts. I see somebody pointing out something that, of course, we need to be excited about. Mike, you the man. Ethan Downs is that dude. He's become a guy that is more reliable than we anticipated. I didn't think he was bad, but I didn't think that he was one of those players that you could truly rely. He's becoming a reliable commodity on this defense. He has become the dude that's playing the dude disguised as another dude. Cool.
I love it. I love it. Final thoughts. Again, we win. It is 7-0. We have now won more games this year than we won last year. There we go. Oh, man. So as we wrap them up, please make sure that you hit that like, hit that subscribe. But this is an absolute. You go into it next week. We'll probably break it down on Wednesday. But you get in here, you get after the quarterback, and you continue the pressure. You stop the run. That's how you beat Kansas. Devin Neal is a good running back. He is. It is not any coincidence that he was a preseason guy. And so you continue to get better. Each one of these guys takes a new step. Handle your business early. Let's get it. And Neo, I got to stop right here for Neo's joke. Neo's joke was pretty dope. If you want to look that up real quick, it was pretty dope. But yeah, you got to, we'll take that. But you go in, every single thing that you, it's further up.
Nope.
Keep going.
I'm chasing down. I'm going. I'll find it. You keep talking.
But yeah, so you go out and do this because every single team right now is going to start dealing with issues and problems. You got to absolutely. Yeah, here's the joke.
While Arch losing his student ID concerns Steve Sarkisian because it shows bad pocket presence. Bravo, my man.
And now
bravo on that one.
Texas does not play Oklahoma State this year.
No, no, they don't.
And
I know, right? Stupid, right? But it's okay because that was the game. Hey, Oklahoma State always beats them at random times. It's like them and Kansas are the two teams that give them hell for some weird reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So moving on, 1 year, one game at a time. Let's get in here. Let's get stuff taken care of early so that you can get more players in and that they can go after it. Continue to wrap this up. We're going to see, we're heading into Flipmas. All right. So November brings a lot of flips and a lot of people because now it's brass tacks time. That is, you're a month away from early signing day, which is essentially signing day outside of the headhunters. And so you want to go in, you want to do that. This is a great time to be. This team is showing a lot of maturity, a lot of will to win. They just where we get tripped up last year and the inability to make the tough play, we're making it this year, and it is 100% the product of culture. If you watch the game, there are multiple times that you see Stutzman getting in people's backside. You see Brent Venables after people. You see Brent Venables, giving shout outs to people.
See him
These
jumping
players are going
and doing celebrations with players. Like,
yeah. You are going to absolutely have people who make mistakes continual, right? This is still a young defense. This is still a defense that has to go out and play complementary football. Everybody takes care of their job. You take care of your job, and you're going to make more plays more often than not.
Yep. And to add to that, real quick, my final thoughts. We are 10-point favorites going to Kansas. This week was our first time not covering the spread, so we are 6-1 against the spread, 7-0. Got 7 wins, 7-0 this season, which is beautiful. First time since 2000 and was it 9 or 11?
Is wild.
A long time since we've started the season off 7-0. And in my understanding, I think it was 2009. I'm gonna look real quick.
I think you're right.
I want to know just because I'm just me.
It was an O year, so it's on.
Nope,
it's on
was
to
not
Kansas.
9 or was
Nope.
it 7? Let's go back further. Nope, wasn't in 7. Let's look at 11. Wasn't 11, was it? Nope, 11 was 6-0. When was the last time somebody got in the chat? When was the last time? I remember I said it in my video.
2019. It was 2019. Yeah, because that was the year that we Caleb came back. We beat Texas. We beat Kansas, and then lost.
Yeah, you did start off. It was closer, a lot closer than I thought. Then we lost at Kansas State. Oh God, the state of Kansas. I hate those people. Then we won every game after that, and then lost to LSU in the playoffs. So yeah, okay. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I was like, man, what was that year we started off with 7 wins? Because the year before we lost to Texas, and the year before that we lost to Iowa State, which derailed us. It's always those random games we was losing with that last regime that just threw us off. And then the last Bob Stoops when we lose to Houston in neutral site, then lose to Ohio State, and then we go undefeated from there. Yeah, it was wild time. God. Kansas. I know, Steven. I'm not going to take the rat poison no more. But outside of that, thank y'all for pulling up as usual. While you're here, wipe your feet, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version of this rate review, give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Let's give us 5 anyway. And with that, y'all enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, and more videos are coming down the line. Of course, we're waiting on a few commitments to show up. So I have commitment videos already queued up. I'm just hoping somebody doesn't do this while because I'm traveling again tomorrow, but I'll be back Wednesday. We'll probably do a Wednesday night show. May have a guest, maybe not. Probably just get the collective together. We can talk about the Kansas game and go from there. And so, ladies and gents, with that, we'll chop it up. I don't know. Day or two. Peace.